This step-by-step review covers the Chevy Titan 90. It's a 125 scale kit from AMT number 1417. The Chevy Titan was a heavy-duty highway hauler that was introduced in 1970. It offered both gas and diesel power, and at one point even a John Deere engine.
Thanks for joining us at Right On Replicas, where we're proud to bring you the best scale model kit reviews on the planet.
Along with the Astro, they brought new design considerations to the COEs. Those are the cab-over engine models. Now the Astro, Titan, and were considered the best designed big COE tractors of their era. They were very popular among long-haul drivers, and even with the chrome trim options, the younger drivers as well. Now this is a skill level 3 kit for intermediate to advanced builders. It includes over 250 parts, molded in white, clear, transparent red, and chrome-plated parts. It also has black vinyl tires and water slide decals. And when you're done, the model measures about 9 1/4 inches long, 6 inches high, and 4 1/2 inches wide. Here are the main parts for the kit. They're in pretty good shape. They've done a good job of keeping the molds cleaned up, but there's still going to be the parting lines, flash, and sink marks, and sprue attachment points you'll have to clean up. So here is the look at the nicely chromed parts. They're in good shape, heavy chrome. The wheels, our tires, I should say, are in a pretty nice condition too for tread. Also, in a couple of axles and the window parts there, along with the taillights, etc., and the main cab portion. The mold is in pretty good shape, so that's not a real big consideration here. The decals are pretty good. They're in good register, and there's quite a few to choose from here depending on your color choice. This review is brought to you in part by Ryder's Hobby Shops, where the fun begins. Stop in to one of Ryder's 2 convenient Michigan locations where you'll find a full range of the latest hobby products, supplies, parts, tools, and paint. You'll find aisles and aisles of scale model kits, RC models, model rockets, Warhammer gaming, and railroading products. Stop in at Ryder's today and tell them Doug sent you. Engine construction's the first thing that we'll do, so go ahead and grab these parts out of the kit, and you'll notice some light flash around the pieces, easily removed with a sanding stick and a hobby knife if needed. Now the engine will be glued together, and the seams will have to be smoothed out and cleaned up after you get the glue dry. After the motor has been assembled and cleaned up, you can see it's been painted that odd green color, and the chrome parts add a certain amount of bling to it for a truck engine, but that can happen. And anyway, the exhausts there, of course, are kind of a muted steel. Next, we'll gather up some of these accessory pieces, including the supercharger, and then we'll add that to the engine, along with painting the transmission a matte black. Now the final pieces will go into the engine assembly, including that large chrome-plated fan. You see here the finished engine, and as you can see, I decided that the chrome fan was a little bit too much, so I decided to strip that off and paint it with a semi-gloss black. Next, we'll see if we can put the wheel assemblies together for the front. These are pretty nice Firestone tires, the nice tread pattern on them. Now, as a reminder, and you probably got this from the engine, you need to scrape off the chrome plating whenever you try to glue those parts together. And the same goes for paint if you want a good adhesion. So we're going to take and sandwich these parts, the front and rear trim rings there, around the front tires, and paint the wheels a bright orange color. Now we'll move on to the rear wheel assemblies. You can see in this shot some flash on the edges there of the inner wheel hubs and a sprue attachment point. And those things will have to be cleaned up. So gather up all the parts you see here for the rear wheel assemblies. And remember to scrape that chrome from the trim rings, and go ahead and assemble the wheels. And you'll see from the instructions, it's pretty straightforward, but also want you to know that if you have any questions about construction, all the instructions are at the back of the review. Here's what your final wheel assemblies will look like, unless of course you paint the wheels hubs a little different color, but it really makes it pop and helps with the appearance of the whole cab. But the dualies are they're on top, and then the singles in front, and those will be attached later on to the whole chassis. Now it's time to assemble the frame, and this is a critical step in the build. We're going to put it together and then paint it flat black. You really need to be careful to ensure that the frame dries evenly and doesn't warp. So one of the best ways to do that, of course, is to, after the glue gets set slightly, you're going to want to make sure that it's all squared up and then put some weight on it so that it dries flat. This piece is the exhaust crossover pipe, and it is used for a single exhaust version of the truck. Otherwise, you don't need it. Now we'll get out these parts, and these are the rear springs and the rocker beam pivot, and they get painted Toucher's gloss black and then attached to the frame after you scrape off the attachment point areas of the paint. These parts are used to construct the front rear axle assembly, so go ahead and put that together and then paint it gloss black before installing it to the frame. The rear axle assembly in the back, the rearmost one, gets assembled and then painted gloss black and installed onto the frame assembly. And the inner axle shaft then is also gloss black, and it gets installed simultaneously between both of the rear axle assemblies. And now locate the two metal axles that are in the kit, and those are installed into the rear axle housings, and then the rear tire assemblies can be squeezed on to the exposed ends of the axles. Gather up the parts that you see here for the drop axle, front axle assembly and the steering assembly, and they get painted gloss black and then installed onto the frame. After the front axle assembly is thoroughly dry, you can go ahead and squeeze the front tire and wheel assemblies onto the ends of the axles there. At this step, we'll go get the engine assembly that we completed earlier and install it into the frame assembly. The front drive shaft gets painted gloss black and attached between the engine assembly and the front rear axle assembly. The radiator halves and hoses are painted flat black, and then we're going to assemble the radiator halves and install them onto the frame assembly, and the hoses then also go between the radiator and the engine at the specified locations. The air tank now can be installed onto the frame assembly, and the fifth wheel parts get painted gloss black, and they're assembled before they are put onto the frame as a separate subassembly unit. The left side of the dual exhaust units are assembled and detailed with some gloss black for the pipe, and then it gets attached to the frame assembly. And the left dual exhaust pipe then also is attached between the exhaust assembly and the engine. Now we'll use the parts to assemble the front bumper, and it will be attached to the frame. And the front license plates, I painted gloss orange, that backing plate for the license plate that is, and attached to the front bumper. There's an optional radiator stone guard that can also be used on the bumper as well. Now we'll get the parts out for the right side of the dual exhaust system, and it gets assembled and detailed with some gloss black like the other and attached to the frame. Now the air inlet is detailed with some silver paint, and the air outlet tube gets painted some flat black and some of the green that we used for the engine. The right dual exhaust pipe then is attached between the right exhaust assembly and the engine, and the muffler support bracket is attached between the exhaust assemblies. I used the Molotow chrome liquid to touch up the chrome exhaust parts, and was really impressed at how well it came out after cleaning up some of the seams, etc. I painted the cab support and the cab support brackets gloss black after stripping the chrome off the supports themselves. Next, we're going to put together the battery box assembly, and it gets painted gloss black, and then the battery that goes inside is flat black, and then the whole assembly gets installed onto the frame. Assemble the left and right fuel tanks along with their brackets, and after the glue is dried, clean up those seams and paint that tester's gloss black. Now the large air tank then is painted gloss black and attached to the center fuel tank bracket, and then the fuel tank assembly is attached to the frame. The mud flaps get painted flat black and attached to the frame, and the tail light bracket is painted a gloss black and attached to the frame. Next, the license plate is painted a gloss black and attached to the tail light bracket, and the tail light lenses then are attached to the light bezels, and then those tail light assemblies get attached to the tail light bracket. The shift tower bracket gets painted gloss black and attached to the frame, and the shift gate then is attached to the shift tower, and the lever is attached to the shift gate. You see that discoloration around the ejector pin mark there. Every once in a while you'll run into something like this. It's grease from the ejector pin, and that can just simply be cleaned up with a little detergent and soap detergent and warm water, and then let it dry, and we'll move on to the interior. I painted the interior flat tan, and the front wall is painted the same color and then installed into the interior. The bed gets painted flat white with a little light blue for some of the bedding and attached to the front wall of the interior. Then the brake pedal, clutch pedal, and accelerator pedals are attached to the interior. Now we can assemble the seats and their bases. You'll have a seam alongside you'll want to clean up, and I painted the seats brown, and then I used a little flat black for the seat bases and installed them into the interior. I painted the dashboard flat tan as well and detailed it with some wood tones and then some semi-gloss black and some liquid chrome from the Molotow pen. The steering wheel gets painted a semi-gloss black and detailed with some chrome, and then the filler panel also flat tan. The steering column cover is painted with some gloss black, and the column and the steering wheel are attached to the dashboard. Then the dashboard is installed into the slots for its location on the interior assembly. Next, the filler panel is attached to the interior. The body is next, and we're going to prep it first by drilling holes in the roof that'll be needed for the accessories. Then it's primed with some aircraft gray and sprayed with some gloss white and detailed with some competition orange and flat black. The windows get installed with some clear part cement, and the sleeper walls and open curtains are painted flat tan. Next, the sleeper walls are installed into the body assembly, and the open curtains get attached to the interior dish onto the front wall. Now, when sliding the interior assembly into the body, I used a piece of 3x5 card to help it clear the lower glass, door glass and the filler panel on the interior. Otherwise, it could get hung up on the glass. A piece of index card can just be then pulled out once the interior is in place. Now we'll work on the cab accessory pieces and radiator or grill, and then we're going to paint the Chevy logo emblem there, the lower right hand piece, blue, and then attach that to the body assembly. And the cab handles are attached to the body. Now the windshield wipers get detailed with some flat black and attached to the body as well. The grill gets a black wash with some flat black and thinner 50-50 mix and attached to the body. The air horns are assembled and installed onto the roof of the body assembly. The fleet running lights then are detailed with Model Masters transparent orange. Any clear orange should work before they are attached to the roof as well. Now the The mirrors will be added, and all of these small attachment parts are fragile, so be very careful when you work with them, but still they'll need to be trimmed and touched up with a little silver or chrome paint. Now the handrail gets painted with some of that liquid chrome and attached to the body, and the left turn signal is detailed with some clear orange before attaching it to the body. The left door mirror and the left Titan 90 badge and the left step plate can then be attached to the body. The same process is done on the right side of the body for those pieces. The headlight bezels are now installed into the body, and the lenses can be attached to the bezels with some clear part cement. The air duct and the clutch cover are painted flat black and then attached to the interior assembly's underside. So we're heading into the final phase here, and one of the last pieces to put into place are the hinges, the cab hinges. And these are the pivots that the cab uses. Now, it appears that at one time there were locating pins, but this issue didn't have any. So you'll have to do some test fitting and locate these pins, into position where you can see where the cab will set, so that you know where they're going to need to be positioned, or you'll get a crooked cab, and nobody likes that. So once you can see where they need to be, lift your cab back off and super glue the hinges into place. And then after they're in position, you can go ahead and paint those flat black. Then the rear cab grab handle gets attached to the body assembly. The body assembly then is carefully installed onto the frame. With the construction complete, you can add a few of those snappy stripes to make your cab stand out. A little warm water to put them into position, and some setting solution, and they should fit the contours of the body just perfectly. Although it was really scheduled as a level 3 kit, just about anybody with some experience should be able to put this kit together. Just a couple of things stood out. It's got a lot of flash around most of the parts. I think the pressings had to be done under a higher pressure than normal to get good solid flows. But overall, the only other issue was the hinge pins, and all you have to do is carefully use some mock-ups to make sure that you know where the hinges are to be located, and then glue them into position. Well, there you have it. Your model is complete, and this stunning looker would be welcome to anybody's display shelf. So if I were you, I'd look for one and put it on my shelf. Well, we hope you like this step-by-step premium model kit build and review. And so that you don't miss any more, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can do that by clicking on the icon in the lower right of any of our reviews. And you can find us on Facebook or our website, rightonreplicas.com. Thanks.